guys, welcome back to Blitz Creek. It's week 2 of high school football. How'd you feel after last week?
Well, it's week 2 for Tazewell. It's week 4 for Richlands.
That is true.
Because Richlands started in week 0.
And then played and had a bye week, and now it's week 4 for them. Week
Yeah.
2 for us, so it's legit like week 3. So there we go. Week 3.
which is so confusing given the fact that Richlands and Virginia High played while everyone else was playing benefit games. So
Yes.
it's kind of like when Labor Day happens, and you're like, oh, Monday is not Monday, it's Tuesday, and then Thursday becomes Friday, and you basically feel like Bill Murray in Groundhog Day. So I thought last week was really interesting given some of the scores. I mean, we didn't do a hot takes because I'm lazy, but there were just some really, really wonky scores out there that just lead to the confusion that this season has brought to us at this point. I feel like there are teams that we thought we knew about going into this season, and at this point, all of those thoughts have been thrown out the window, tossed up into the air, and blown all over the highway, and then got rammed by a truck and exploded. I mean, what do you make of the fact that Grayson County beats Carroll County? I don't know what to make of that. What does that mean for us moving forward with Grayson? But at the same time, did you see the score of the Dobbins-Bennett Gate City game?
6 points.
6 points. How do I even begin to deal with what Gate City was able to pull off in Kingsport against the largest school in the state of Tennessee? I'm still trying to sift through all of those facts and emotions and opinions.
Right.
Because I did try to follow on a lot of that stuff and tried to listen to other people's opinions and see what people were saying about it, and then also read the paper. So, I don't know. Last week was wild and crazy. I think it basically went as we thought it was going to go, wins and losses,
Right.
but scores were close. There were some close scores, and then there were some teams that put some points on the board that haven't yet put points on the board.
So, let's get to our sponsors. We'd like to thank Apple Bag Works for all the work they do. You need some handcrafted leather, check out him on Instagram. He'll show you some of his new fall patterns he's got. He's doing some good work there. We also, as you can tell, Old Town Barbershop, still on board. We appreciate them a lot. And just to say, we both go to Old Town Barbershop. Our barber's better than your barber. This is his title.
Absolutely.
Don't want to fight that guy. So, there you go. And also our new sponsor. If you're looking for an attorney who does criminal work, some civil work, not much, but if you're looking for somebody that specializes in criminal work, Bluefield, Andrew Scruggs. He does a good job. He'll take care of you. I was trying to think. He's on Main Street in Graham. So there you go. All right. Last week, there was a mistake on my end. It threw Josh for a loop. My bad. Patrick Henry did not beat V-High. V-High destroyed Patrick Henry. It was 46-6, something like that, 42-6. That threw him for a loop. But I apologize on that end to V-High. V-High's still a really good team. But let's get into this week. So this week, we have Grayson County, the Blue Devils, traveling to Tazewell to take on the Tazewell Bulldogs.
Well, let's deal with Tazewell first. So I said last week that I felt like Tazewell's defense was something that they could hang their hat on. And I think Tazewell's defense did exactly what I said they were going to do. They were going to play well for at least a half, and they did. They kept Pulaski County out of the end zone the entire half, gave up a pick 6. That was the difference in the first half score, 7-6. But I felt like there's depth issues when you start playing bigger teams, especially for a smaller double-A team like Tazewell. And the defense just kind of got worn down and gave up some touchdowns towards the end of the game. So that's something that Tazewell can take as a moral victory. I'm not a big fan of moral victories, but at the same time, you've got to take what you can get. And I feel like Tazewell definitely has the opportunity to play well again this week. Now, Grayson County plays Carroll County, who had just come off a decently close but kept them at arm's length victory over Christiansburg. Now, maybe it's just our perception of Christiansburg, especially with schools as we get towards Blacksburg and Roanoke, that we give them a little bit more respect than they deserve.
Right.
So the fact that Carroll County was able to kind of keep Christiansburg at arm's length, and now Grayson County beats Carroll County, maybe we're just giving Christiansburg too much credit, and we'll talk about that down the road a little bit later. But I'm trying to figure out how to reconcile what Carroll County is. And that goes back to our intro and us not being able to figure out what our perceptions are on a weekly basis based on last week's scores. And as we get a larger data set, it really lets us know who these teams are. Now, the game Friday night. If Tazewell can move the ball, that's the key to victory for Tazewell. Can they move the ball?
Right.
They've got to be able to be more consistent on the offensive side of the ball. They've got to stay ahead of the chains. Too many penalties, too many self-inflicted wounds for Tazewell to be able to overcome those offensively. For Grayson, maybe it's just play par football. Play par for the course. Don't shoot yourself in the foot. Don't have bad penalties that either extend drives for Tazewell or decelerate your momentum on the offensive side of the ball, and just play your football. What does that – that's a lot of ifs for both teams. Tazewell has to do things that they haven't yet been able to do, even from the preseason to now week 2 for them. And Grayson has shown that they can score points against a AAA football team in Carroll County, but can they do it against a Tazewell defense that is super stingy, especially up front? I think that Tazewell, if they can score 14 to 17 points, has a chance to win. If Grayson can score 21 points like they did against Carroll, I think they win. I don't know if it pains me to say this, but I'll take Tazewell 17, Grayson 12.
Now, the one thing Josh did not put in his statement about Grayson County last year takes on Essex in the state title game. That's in single A, but they still beat Rock Cove. And how much we talked about Rock Cove on here, Grayson County ended up going and playing in the state single A title against Essex. They're not shabby. No. There's nothing about this team to be shabby. They are 2-0 coming into this game. With that being said, Tazewell could not take care of the ball, whether that was on the offensive side or on special teams. We had some issues there. We're still learning a new offense, and it shouldn't be that hard from what I understand. I didn't play. I wasn't in this type of offense, but I do know that there's learning curves when it comes to that. Look at West Virginia. West Virginia goes to Ohio and takes on the Bobcats. But the thing about it is, people don't understand, Ohio won the MAC last year. Grayson goes to the state title. Ohio's a really good ball club. They could win the MAC again and might be a dark horse to go into the playoffs. So with all of that being said, Tazewell and West Virginia new coach, Tazewell new coach. They're learning new offenses. There's some learning curves to be on that side of the ball. So when people are like, it's Grayson County, No, go back and look at what Grayson County has done. I think Grayson County upsets the Bulldogs 21-7.
Wow, you got into that WVU score pretty quick. I wasn't going to bring it up, but you can do whatever you want to do.
Well, I'm not upset about the loss, so it's okay.
It wasn't a UNC score week 1.
Move on. So now, George Wythe travels to V High to take on the Bearcats. The thing about George Wythe was a playoff team last year. They were very competitive. Why a Wytheful school is single A, I don't know. They should be 2A.
I know why.
We know why, but we're not going to get into that. But
it's political.
George Wythe should be a 2A school. They're not. V High is a 2A school. I told you I made a mistake last week with Patrick Henry. I'm not going to make that same mistake this week. Virginia High last week took on Battle and put up 35 points. Battle did not score. George Wythe is a good school or a good football team, but so is V High. V High in this one, I like them 28-14.
Everything you said about George Wythe is very much true. They should be a AA school. The fact that they're not a AA school and Fort Chiswell is the school that kind of goes back and forth between AA and single A just shows you how they kind of blur those lines a little bit to keep George Wythe in that perennial single A kind of box.
Right.
The fact that Virginia High has now averaged over 35 points a game, 34 points a game, I think they're averaging about that, leads me to believe that they're going to continue to do that. It'll be interesting to see whether or not Virginia High's defense, who gave up points against a Richlands squad that scored basically the same amount of points against Gate City. Battle's not George Wythe. If we were talking about Battle and George Wythe, we'd be taking George Wythe.
Right. Yeah.
I think that this is probably a little bit more high scoring than what people might think. I do think it's 2 scores or more, but I think that Virginia has talent. They're starting to gel in the right way. They're kind of becoming the team that we thought that they would be preseason.
Yes.
They're scoring a lot of points, and now they've got 2 straight weeks of their defense showing up. Now, the competition that they were playing is not the competition that they're going to play Friday night. I think they give up points, but it's not going to be enough for George Wythe to pull off the upset. I like Virginia High 42, George Wythe 18.
So now the Pioneers of Lebanon will travel, I would say across the mountain, but they're probably going to go down to Abingdon and head up to take on the Marion Scarlet Hurricane. Is there an upset a brewing?
Oh, I would like to think so. But given the fact that Marion is averaging about 3.5 points a game, I don't think that that's going to happen. Especially given the fact that Lebanon's averaging about 50 points a game.
Right.
I think that Lebanon will kind of be par for the course here. Marion won't possess the ball long enough to keep Lebanon's score below 40. In a not so fast, not going to pick an upset, I'll take Lebanon big, 49, Marion 0.
Yeah, Lebanon last week 42, Patrick Henry 14. And Marion loses to Wythe 19-7. And they had to travel. They had the lead in that early. They were leading early, and then Wythe pulled away. So with everything being said, I don't think there's much more to be said. Pioneers 52, Marion nothing.
That's probably pretty close to what it's going to be. I feel like Marion just can't possess the ball long enough to keep Lebanon's offense from just going up and down the field.
Right.
All it takes is 1 3-and-out, and you're down 14-0.
Yeah.
If Lebanon gets the ball first, it might be 7-0 3 minutes into the game. Then if Marion doesn't pick up a first down, it's 14-0 6.5, 7 minutes into the game.
And Mike Reese's first name's Mike, right?
Yeah, I think so,
yeah. Reese is going to have a big game. That's going to be a given.
He's going to throw it all over the yard.
So now let's go to our first crossover game. It's the only crossover game of this week. The Richlands Blue Tornado will travel to take on the Lee 5-star Generals. Well, not 5-star, but they're the Generals. Richlands is growing. They still got to figure out what they're doing with the running game. They're running it with their quarterback, and then they're doing the dump pass to their running back. And with Landon and Winter on the outs. Winter is their big receiver, number 4. Landon's number 1. He's speedy. I don't know if Lee really has what it takes to slow Richlands down. Lee is a good ball club. Thomas Walker put 22 on them. That was a 28-22 ball game. Well, Richlands is not Thomas Walker, so they're not going to put 28 on Richlands. And if they hold Thomas Walker to 22, Richlands could put up 35. So with that being said, I like the Blue Tornado in this one, 35-12.
Ooh, that's a big score. I do like the fact that Richlands is trying to run the ball, which is something that they didn't do against Virginia. I mean, they were doing it. They're doing it with their quarterback, but I feel like they're trying to get everyone else involved, even with the dumps, because it kind of looks like it's almost like an option that Clemson used to run about 10 or 12 years ago. Lee has got to be able to control the line of scrimmage. Now, they have the ability to do that.
Right.
But are they able to do that and sustain kind of long drives against Richlands to kind of keep Richlands offense off the field? I mean, Richlands has shown the ability to score points. And Lee, right now, they're giving up an average of about 35 points a game, which doesn't bode well given the fact that Richlands is averaging about 25 points a game.
Right.
So something's got to give in that stat line. And I feel like the team that's going to give it up is going to be Lee. I like the fact that Richlands scores points. Richlands defense, again, we'll go back to the beginning of the season when we were talking about Richlands, and I said Richlands' success will be defined by their defense and whether or not they can stop people. And the fact that Lee's coming in and not averaging more than about 14 points a game bodes well for a defense that's trying to find their identity. I think they do find their identity in this one. I like Richlands, not as big, but I like Richlands 24-10.
All right, so here's a good time for another break. Bring another sponsor to you. It's the same one. But if you're looking for an attorney to do criminal work here in Tazewell County, Buchanan County, Russell County, I think as far as Washington County, give Andrew Scruggs a call. He's based out of Bluefield, Virginia. You can find him on Facebook or give it a Google. But he'll do you a good job there. So now, let's move into the Mountain 7 out of the Southwest. This game will be played on Thursday night. So when you're listening to this, if you're listening on Thursday, it's tonight's game. It's not the only one. But Ridgeview is traveling over to take on, from Dickinson County to Wise County, to take on Central Wise. I don't think this bodes well.
No, I'm extremely happy for Wise to get that win last Friday, because it's not in the cards for this Thursday.
No.
Like I say a lot, I wish there was some kind of interesting data set that I could give you, or some stats that would lead you to believe that Wise has a shot in this game, but they don't. Ridgeview's coming off a couple of big wins, and they're scoring points, and Wise is, with the exception of Marion, going to give up points. I mean, they gave up 44 to Eastside, and I'm not saying that Eastside shouldn't have scored 44 points or isn't good enough to score 44 points against a good team. They are. They made it to the regional championship game and won D last year. but they're not Ridgeview. And Ridgeview has proven to me that they're the same team that they've always been. They have the same mentality. Their coach has been there forever. He's, succeeding another coach that's been there forever. So he's just continuing the genetics of what that program is. And the genetics of that program are much like Honaker. They score a lot of points against inferior teams. They do.
Right.
It's just what they do. And this is no different. It's going to be a long, long ride for Wythe just to go back home because they're going to get beat up in this one. Glad for the win last week. Get ready for Thursday night. Ridgeview big, 52. Wythe 6.
So Ridgeview went to take on Honaker and beat Honaker 42-0. And that's a Tiger team that went toe-to-toe until the fourth quarter with the Lebanon Pioneers. We said that Ridgeview played Lebanon in a benefit game, and we weren't really sure about that score. Well, what's it tell us now that Honaker couldn't even put any points up on Ridgeview? I like their coach. We interviewed him. He's a hard-nosed guy. I'm going to take the Wolfpack in this one. I like your score, but I'm going to say 48-0, so we're not the same.
Whatever it is, it's big.
Yes.
It's one of those games where the money line isn't even bettable. You can't even bet on the money line in this game. You can only take overs and unders, and you can only take points against the spread.
Right.
So
now,
it's going to be bad. I'm sorry.
It's not going to be good.
I mean, and my dad's from Wythe. He went to J.J. Kelly. He was a quarterback there. He played on the Wythe team that played against Chilhowie before they went to Chilhowie's first state championship game back in the 70s. Like, I'm kind of old school J.J. Kelly Wythe through and through, but this one's going to get ugly early, boys.
So now let's move to a game that could be winnable for a team that may be looking at an 0-10 season. Holston, the Cavaliers,
Right.
travel to Bristol to take on John Battle. Holston is a good little squad, but the thing about it is Battle needs a win. They're going to be hungry. We know Holston can put up some points. Realistically, Holston probably wins this one, but I'm going to go with the green and white in this one. Squeaking it out, 14-13.
That sounds like a score that I used to give for Tazewell when I would say 17-12.
Yes.
And then it would turn out to be not 17-12. Thank you for going with Battle in this one, given the fact that I feel like this week we might be picking the same teams for everything. But and I apologize, my daughter's back behind here. She's messing around with things. So if you see us distracted, that's usually what's going on. You can find her last week in our podcast running around in between my legs and down below us. But Holston, I think, is a pretty good football team. They can score some points, and I think Battle has a real issue with, one, scoring points, and two, keeping people from scoring points. And that's a bad recipe for football. Given the fact that those two things are issues for John Battle, I like Holston in a semi-big way, 28-0.
All right, so these were two really good games. The Abingdon Falcon, who come off of a win in Christiansburg, 28-9, and Gate City coming off of a loss to where they lose 28-20 to Dobbins Bennett. Is it the Falcons or is it the Blue Devils?
Well, I'm really trying to figure out what happened last week with Dobbins Bennett. Did they just play a lot of kids? What I didn't read about it.
It was a close game the whole time. I followed it on Score Stream.
It was a close game the entire time, which I'm just trying to reconcile all of that stuff because Dobbins Bennett went down to Knox Central and beat Knox Central handily, kind of kept them at arm's length, 121-6. And Knox Central is a good football team, a bigger school in the city of Knoxville. So I'm having a hard time trying to figure out who Gate City is. And basically, Gate City gave up the same amount of points to Dobbins Bend as they did to Richlands. And I know I know that's not a sound thought process when I'm trying to reconcile games. Abingdon, I think it's good to know that they scored points and they led that game wire to wire against Christiansburg. Mm-hmm. And Christiansburg tacked on a score late. I mean, Abingdon had only given up 3 points basically the entire game. And that's good given the fact that Carroll County went to Grayson and basically almost gets shut out.
Right.
I think if Abingdon just kind of plays their game, that Abingdon's the better football team in this one. I think they have shown the fact that they're scoring points. They're averaging about 40-some points a game now. They scored, 28 last week. They scored 62 in the first game. That's in the range of 40, 45 points. I think that may be their new identity in the fact that they can put the ball in the end zone. Gate City needs to be able to stop somebody. They've given up 28 points kind of on the regular. And I think if you're giving up 28 points and Abingdon's got a shot to score 40 points. Now, if Gate City can keep Abingdon at bay, keep them out of the end zone, especially early on, I think that gives Gate City a fighting chance in this one. It also helps that they're playing at Legion Field.
It does.
It helps playing at Legion Field where the season ticket holders are on the home side and everyone else from Gate City sits on the visiting side. There's going to be a lot of blue in Gate City, but I think it's the darker blue that pulls out the victory. I like Abingdon 32, Gate City 21.
Abingdon still, they've got a mesh of seniors and juniors and some young talent in there as well. When I watched Gate City take on Richlands, I was kind of impressed with their backfield. They got a thunder and lightning punch with number 8, who took off on a big run. As soon as I was like, hey, look at this guy. Off he went. 22, he's not afraid to hit you in the mouth. He'll get in there and do what he's got to do. They have a wide receiver on the end that just blew by some guys. So if they can get that going, Abingdon can score. And I just want to tell you right now, I don't know if anybody from Gate City listens. 50, that dude's huge, okay? Like, he's like, looks like he's 7 foot tall. He's probably like 6'7". Dude's huge, okay? 55, he's just as big. So they got some big guys down there in Gate City, along with some speed. Abingdon has a kid going to North Carolina, go Heels, but I don't know if that's enough to slow down Gate City and for the devil in the blue dress to win this one. 24-21, Blue Devils.
Ooh, all right.
So, now let's get to our game of the week, brought to you by the Old Town Barber Shop. If you need your hair cut, you need your beard done. I had it done just before I got on here to make sure it looked good for this. It didn't help, but he made the beard look good. So, with all that being said, come by, see Corey. We were having a conversation. Some people don't even realize that he come back, okay? He left Main Street. He come back about 4 years ago, and now he's behind El Mariachi. So there you go. Come see Corey, get your hair cut. Old Town Barber Shop here in Tazewell. But, was you going to say something?
He won't charge you for a finder's fee.
So now, Thursday night in Tazewell, home of the Bulldogs, the Graham G-Men will host the Union Bears. Union has proved to be Union. Kind of like we say about Ridgeview, that's going to be a great game when those two meet up. But Union has played over in Tennessee, took care of that. They've played over here, taking care of who they need to. The Graham G-Men play their arch rival and don't have a big showing. And then their arch rival goes over to Princeton and gets obliterated. Bluefield did not show up against Princeton. I don't have that score. But if you want to go check it out, it wasn't close.
It was like 51-0.
Yeah, it was not a good game at all. So with all that being said, I'm not going to go into any more. I like Union in this one. 28, Graham 17.
I think the key for Graham in this one is to not shoot themselves in the foot, not have self-inflicted penalties. And I think the other thing is Graham is going to have to tackle. Defensively, they have to tackle. They have to make Union snap it over and over and over again. Union hadn't had to snap it over and over and over again because most of the time it's in the end zone.
Right.
They're scoring so many points that they don't have to snap it again. Then their next snap is coming after a 3 and out. Graham didn't get the opportunity for a tune-up because they had to take a forfeit, which I don't think practicing more after a loss to Bluefield is what Graham needed. Graham needed to get back out on the field and get that bad taste out of their mouth.
And that win would have helped their mentality.
Oh, I think so 100%. It would have given them the opportunity to iron some things out against a different team, not their own team, in practice.
Right.
Plus, you just sit there and you stew on the last game that you played, which was not great for Graham. I think that there is this mental block with Union and Graham, though.
Yes.
But last year, we felt like they'd gotten over that by winning in the regular season, and they don't do it in the playoffs. So is this a regular season Union, or is this a playoff Union that we're getting ready to see? Or is Union just able to shake all of that off and be the Union of 2025, a team that's loaded with everyone coming back and has proven that they can, 1, stop people, and 2, score in bunches.
Yes.
I think if you look at this on paper and you take a stat line from everything, you're just going, man, Union is on fire. They're going to come into Tazewell, play Graham, and I'm sure Graham is not all that happy about playing in Tazewell. But you know what? Graham had to play at Bluefield for 100 years. This isn't going to change anything for Graham. It's not going to change their Friday routine. The only difference is they're going to travel about 10 minutes further down the road as opposed to, being right there in Bluefield, West Virginia. I think that Union will continue to be Union, but I think Graham shows up in this one because it's a big game, and I think Graham plays. I think they play well against teams that they know they need to play well against. I don't think this is something where Graham feels like they're an inferior team to Union. But I think there's some doubt in Union. Can we get past Graham? The last time they play Graham, they lose to him. I know that's a motivating factor, but at the same time, if Graham scores early, doubts creep in.
Right.
But I like Union. 21, Graham, 14.
All right. And we didn't say the score, but if you were wondering, Union last week takes on Daniel Boone in Tennessee and beats them 62-6. So Ridgeview and Union, either they're using all their points up early or they're two teams that you don't want to reckon with. Graham will find their momentum, and they're going to walk through the Southwest. But what happens on Thursday night? Stop by Tazewell, check it out.
Absolutely.
So now, it's a Thursday night game. We're both in Tazewell. Where are you going to eat?
If I'm gonna eat in Tazewell, I'm gonna stay out of the Dust Bowl and not go to El Marion or go to Italian Village. I'm gonna go to El Mars, check out El Mars, and get some authentic, serious Mexican food. I mean, you can't go wrong with the chilaquiles. So that's where I'll be.
And I'm gonna go to the Wayfair, get their smash burger, and then head to the game and watch a little bit of Union Graham. On Friday nights, though, at the Wayfair, when Tazewell plays at home, they're staying open until 11 o'clock for fifth quarter. Swing by the Wayfair, check it out. Now, we need to know, I didn't check, so it's an update for me. How's Hidden Valley?
Hidden Valley did not win. So their struggles continue. We'll keep them in our prayers, as always. And hopefully they find a W on that schedule. They've been more competitive.
All right, so there you go. We appreciate you all for swinging by, whether that's Apple, Spotify, or YouTube, which I have a script and I completely forgot to say that at the beginning. But it really helps if you like, subscribe, rate, comment, all those good things. We really appreciate it. And we know that Old Town Barbershop does too. So, with all that being said, I don't think we used a lot of our catchphrases today.
We tried to lay off of some of the cliches.
So, if you like us, talk about us. If you don't, then keep your mouth shut. Thank you, guys.
See you. Go Vols.